Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemons. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Nothing but a salute to all my people out there on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that have followed me for years. And obviously we don't talk spicy as much as we used to, but when there are things to talk about, you know that we must talk about them. And so, like, without further ado, because I'm here for a good time, not a long time, I want to get into it. The NFL released the list for the NFL Scouting Combine, and it was 329 prospects invited to the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine. Obviously, this is nothing new, but I've seen some things over the years that have made me start to question the amount of love that I have for the Scouting Combine. Is this a show or is it a showcase? Right? Is it a show or is it a showcase? I say that because there was a very good quote by my man Ray the Grouch, and because I want to give him credit because he said it. I was thinking it, but he put it out there on a post. He says, and this is at Ray the Grouch, RayTheGrouch. He says, there are 267 D1 football schools alone. This tiny ass group of players is a joke. Combine is really just an excuse for scouts and media to hang out. If this was a serious event, it would be 2 weeks long, have hubs and thousands of players from all divisions with tests. There's a rule in writing that when somebody else says it better, you don't say it yourself, you just quote what they said. And shout out to you, Ray the Grouch. I was thinking the same thing. But just to put it in a better perspective for you, right? Anytime I want to make a decision about a decision about anything in life, I want options, right? I don't just go and see one house when I want to buy a house. I see several houses. I compare the houses, right? And so I was thinking about that in terms of the combine and the draft. There are 7 rounds in the draft. 7 rounds. There are 32 picks around because there are 32 teams in the NFL, right? And so with that, my thought process is, okay, well, if there's close to 200 players who are taken in the draft, I want to get 5 times that many prospects to look at because I want to be able to see everything and decide which works for me. Because the one thing that people keep saying, right? The thing that everybody will let you know when you like a prospect, they'll say, oh, well, this isn't college. The NFL isn't college. So what they did in college doesn't matter. Okay, cool. So if what they did in college doesn't matter, wouldn't it be safe to say that you might find more talent in the FCS and in Division II and in Division III and in NAIA and overseas? Wouldn't it be safe to say that there's so much more talent that we don't get to see, that we are not evaluating because the structure is only set up to serve a smaller number? I did the math. There was one HBCU player who was invited to the combine. One. and shout out to him, Carson Vincent from Alabama A&M, the tackle. I think he's going to be a really good tackle in the league. But there are so many more, and I talked about it in my small school, in my small school piece that I put out for Fantasy Life. Go check that out. But Elijah Williams is one of the best defensive linemen in all of the FCS. He didn't get an invite. And so I posted yesterday that, man, one HBCU player, like, it seemed like a joke to me. I was shaking my head at it. It didn't make a lot of sense. And I want to make sure I got it right because I don't want to, I don't want to misspeak because I get so much conversation, and I think people understand if they engage with me, I'm going to engage back, and I appreciate it. So Mike Huseman, shout out to Mike Huseman at Huseman CFB. He hit me back and said, how many FCS players as a whole were invited? I haven't heard that answer. Well, he didn't hear that answer because nobody said it, because nobody was looking, but I was. And so I went in the same way. I scrolled through all the names and counted that there was one HBCU player. I scrolled through all the names and counted there were 7, count them, 7 FCS players. Now, that might have you say, okay, well, I understand why there was only one HBCU player taken if there was only 7 FCS players taken. Here's the problem. Why in the hell are there only 7 FCS players taken? Why are there no Division II, no NAIA, no Division III, no Canadian, no international, none of that? As we go through the list of players, most of that list comes from P4 schools. It doesn't even come from the G5 or the G whatever, right? So if we're willing to say, okay, here's the full list of combine invitees, that is us saying out loud that this is where the talent is. And so the reason we're only inviting these guys is because we believe that these are the best prospects in the country. These are the best that the NFL has to offer. Here's the problem, right? I look at the quarterbacks. Max Brosmer got an invite. And listen, it's about to sound like I'm shooting at people. And I'm really not. I'm just trying to get you to understand the inadequacies of what we're talking about. Max Brosmer got an invite. Brady Cook got an invite. Seth Hennigan got an invite. Graham Mertz got an invite. If I told you that you could have Graham Mertz or you could have Cam Miller, the starting quarterback at North Dakota State, who has been to several championships and won championships at North Dakota State, athletic as all get out, tough as nails, improved as a passer, who are you taking? Are you taking Graham Mertz? Are you taking that dude? If you put them head to head, if you put Brady Cook head to head with him, who are you taking? I watched Brady Cook play football this year. It was not impressive. I watched Max Brosmer play football this year. I was not, oh my God, he's a pro. I watched Seth Hennigan play football this year. I didn't go, man, I really need to see him test. Yet people will tell you with a straight face that Shedeur Sanders is a project and that he's only getting the accolades and the attention that he gets because of his father. Meanwhile, he has all of the footage to support. People will tell you stuff like, oh my gosh, you know, Curtis Rourke ascending, Tyler Show from Louisville. That Tyler Show might be one of the most talented quarterbacks in the draft. That's what they'll tell you. And at the same time, not be able to produce a lot of video evidence of such. They'll be able to show you clips, but not like a full game or a game versus really like all of the stuff. It's weird. But I look at this quarterbacks list and I go, why do I need to see all of these quarterbacks? And on top of that, if I need to see these quarterbacks, I don't need to see the FCS first and second team All-Americans. I don't need to see the Division II All-Americans, the guys who are cooking, the guys who are getting it done. I don't need to see the D3 superstars. If college football doesn't matter and what you did in college football doesn't matter, shouldn't you just be looking for transferable traits that will get you from where you are, college, to where you're going, the NFL? I find it very interesting that we land at this number of quarterbacks, and there will be literally 2 to 3 that actually go through all of the testing. Meanwhile, there are FCS quarterbacks, there are other G5 quarterbacks, there are D2, NAIA, JUCO guys who would come in, do everything, make you sit and wonder, oh snap, that dude looks really, really good. Let's learn some more about him. Let's get some more information on him. Let's evaluate him more. We see these things, and I go, why don't we see all of them? If you're taking 200 plus kids, 200 plus young men in the draft, shouldn't you see 1,000 young men? You're not gonna, if you buy one house, you might see 10 houses before you decide on the one. Rarely do you ever look at one house and go, this is the house I want. I'm not gonna look at anything else. The only time that happens is when you build the house. And if you're building a house, do you look at just one house design, or are there multiple house designs? So the fact that they are inviting as many prospects as they're going to take in the draft is a faulty system. Ladies and gentlemen, this running back class is stupid. It is a stupid level of really good running backs in the draft this year. It is a ridiculous amount of running backs in the draft this year, right? But here's the problem.
On this interruption, all Chili contestants.
My apologies. Here's the problem with there being such a ridiculous number of good running backs in the NFL draft. People have gone out of their way to tell us how useless running backs are, how you shouldn't pay heavy money for a running back. And they'll use the depth of this running back class as a reason why you shouldn't pay for a running back, without mentioning the fact that in this super deep running back class, there are still going to be guys who end up way better than everyone else. And so with that, you go, okay, well, if it's so deep of a class, but the value, the positional value, that's what it says, sorry. The positional value is not there. Then why do I need to see all of these running backs at the combine? There's all these different flavors. It's inconsistencies. So I need to see 30 running backs in the combine, at the combine. I need to see a list of running backs so deep, right? Like super duper deep. LaQuint Allen, Ulysses Benny, Jaden Blue, Taj Brooks, Donovan Edwards, Trevor Etienne, DJ Giddens, Ollie Gordon, Amarion Hampton, RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson, Jaquez Hunter, Jaquindon Jackson, Jordan James, Ashton Genty, Caleb Johnson, Montrell Johnson Jr., Quinson Judkins, Corey Kiner. You want to know what the commonality is in all of these running backs? All of these running backs outside of two. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, two. All of them come from Power 4 schools. The two that don't, Ashton Genty, he's from Boise State, right? Ashton Genty, and the other one, Marcus Yarns from Delaware. So you're telling me that with all of this running back talent out here, there is not a superior talent or a talent that could deal with these dudes at the FCS level other than Marcus Yarns? There's not a talent that could do what these dudes do at the NAI level, at the Division II level, at the D3 level in Canada? You're telling me that this is the best. You're telling me there's no other G5 backs that are good except for Ashton Genty. There's only one G5 back worthy of bringing here. Yo, I don't like the running backs who took like MVP, who did well in the Shrine Bowl, in the Senior Bowl. They're not even here. There's so much more talent out here. And so it makes you wonder, well, is this actually an evaluation or is this just a show? And I'm saying that as somebody who loves the combine. But I have to wonder, like, what is the goal? If the goal is I need to see the best and brightest, there should be no cap on it. 300 plus dudes is not enough. You want to know how I know 300 plus dudes are not enough? Because I looked through this wide receiver list. And I don't see wide receivers who were starters on their teams at the P4 level who were really good getting invites. And then once again, if I look through the wide receivers, Arkansas, Stanford, Florida, TCU, Texas, Louisville, Miami, Illinois, Missouri, Notre Dame, Florida, Ohio State, Virginia Tech, Maryland, Miami, Texas, Mississippi, Iowa State, Oregon, Colorado, Colorado State, UCF, Minnesota, Oregon, Texas Tech, Auburn, Virginia Tech, Georgia, Tennessee, Arizona, Pittsburgh, San Jose State, Nebraska, Iowa State, Maryland, Miami, Utah State, Georgia, Memphis, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Missouri, Mississippi, Colorado, UNLV, Washington State, TCU. Of that list, how many G5 wide receivers did you hear? Out of that list, how many G5 wide receivers did you hear? I'll tell you, you heard UNLV, San Jose State, and Colorado State. You heard 3 G5 wide receivers out of this entire list. You saw Miami get 3 receivers to have invites, but Colorado only had 2. Well, 3 if you want to include Travis Hunter. But Will Shepherd didn't get an invite. Will Shepherd who was the only legitimate X on the team. Will Shepherd, who was the red zone monster, the big catch guy, the guy pulling down, the guy blocking on the edge, like Will Shepherd, who came from not Villanova, but from Vanderbilt, where he balled out, came to Colorado, balled out, and still didn't get an invite. Oh, I'm sorry. Went to the Shrine Bowl, balled out, and still didn't get a combine invite. How do you leave a Will Shepherd off of here? How do you only invite San Jose State, was the other one. How do you only invite three G5 guys? How does no FCS players make it on this list? How is it that there's not one D2 guy that slipped through the holes or didn't have the grades or whatever it was? How is it that you don't see one D3 guy? Why? Because there's not enough. It's not enough. Right? It needs to be more. It needs to be more substantial. And if you get an invite, you need to do everything or else don't come. Hey, and I'm going to say this about anybody. Yo, Shadur Sanders, because we've seen Shadur Sanders go to stuff and not actually compete. If Shadur Sanders is planning on going to the NFL Combine and not doing any workouts, not competing, he should get out the way and let somebody else go. If Cam Ward is saying, hey, you saw the work, I've got 5 years of film for you guys to look through, y'all can check it out, I respect it. Go home. Wait till your pro day. I respect people saying, hey, you've seen enough of me. I'm going to perform on my time in my environment to where it can be best for me. But watching so many of these players come and run the 40, but don't do any of the agility tests, don't do any of the explosion test. People don't bench anymore. They're just coming for the 40. Why? Because the 40 is the glamour thing that's going to be seen on the TV. And that gets me back to my point. Is this a show or is this a showcase? Because there are literally thousands upon thousands of people who are out here who want to showcase their ability, but they can't do it because they don't have the platform. And don't give me, oh, the HBCU is doing their own combine. Yep. You want to know what that did? It made it okay to not invite HBCU players to the actual combine. There's not the same amount of eyeballs on them. There's not the same amount of stories written about them. Whatever combine that D2 guy is going to, he's probably paying to go to it. There's not the same amount of eyeballs on it. It's not going to get the same amount of juice. This is just the truth of where we are. But the NFL has unlimited money. They print money. So why isn't every day just one group? Why isn't Monday the quarterbacks and Tuesday the running backs and Wednesday the tight ends and Thursday the wide receivers and Friday the O line and Saturday the D line and Sunday if it stretches into more than a week, who cares? I'm going to tell you who cares. The media members who have to then budget that out. I get it. Why is it over so early? Why does it only package into a short amount of time? If it takes all day, it takes all day. But you're not going to go and buy a car and just go to the lot and the first car you see, that's the car you buy. If you are at home deciding what car you're going to buy, you don't just look at one car. You look at that car. Even if you have an idea, I'm going to buy a G-Wagon. You know what you probably also do? You probably also go and look at the comparable the comparable cars to the G-Wagon. You check them out. You see the pluses, the minuses, right? Oh, well, this one seems to have better handling. Well, this one's resale value is better. Well, this one's this and this one's that. You compare. You might even look at a step down from what the G-Wagon claims to be to see if there's really any difference, right? Like, what's the difference between this G-Wagon and this next step down? What's the difference between this Rolls-Royce Phantom and this Mercedes, blah, 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 right? What's the difference between this McLaren and this Corvette or this Mustang? Or, like, you're not going to just look at the highest one or the one you think is the best and never look at anything else. So why do we do that in evaluations? It makes zero sense. There are players right now that are out there going, I don't know what I did, or I don't know what else I could have done, right? People making light of the fact that Shedeur Sanders didn't get a combine invite. And that's a shame, because he should have gotten a combine invite, right? But so should Cameron Silman Craig. Because why is it that players on highly successful teams who are starters for multiple years, how do those guys not get an opportunity to get evaluated at the level where you guys have told us is different than college? Oh, well, Shedeur Sanders didn't look really great in how he played in college. Guess what? The NFL's not the college. The NFL's not college. I believe, and I'll go to my grave with it, I believe Shedeur Sanders has a role in the NFL. He has a role. I've seen Shedeur Sanders in the NFL. I've seen players who are second-level safeties, who are big hitters. I've seen guys who turn into special teams wizards. So what do I need to see about Shedeur Sanders? I know he's smart. I know he cares about the game because he doesn't have to play. His father's rich. They're not being made to play. He clearly loves the game. Never forget, and I said Shedeur Sanders, I probably meant Shiloh Sanders. You get what I'm saying. Shiloh Sanders, not only did he transfer from South Carolina to come to Jackson, he then graduated from Jackson State in order to be able to go over to Colorado. It's a different level of commitment. He probably is close to a master's degree at Colorado because he spent 2 years there, right? There's a role for a Shiloh Sanders in the NFL. And again, I apologize. I called them Shedeur, and I apologize, Shiloh. You're your own man. There's a role for Cameron Silman Craig and there are another 500 names that we don't hear about because we're not exposed to them, because the entity that is supposed to expose them to us doesn't open the door for everybody to come in. And this is why your draft analysts analyze the same 100 players. This is why you see people come out with their draft guides outside of my guy Emory Hunt, right? Outside of the industry standard football game plan. You see people come out with draft guides that have all of the people that you already know. Why? Because it's not being put to them to worry about the other talent, because the league's not trying to worry about the other talent. One of the biggest myths they'll tell you is that the best talent is in the NFL. That's just not the truth. It's just not the truth. The majority of the best talent might be in the NFL, but the best talent's not in the NFL. You want to know how I know? I'll tell you how I know. Because look at this quarterbacks list. You're telling me guys who couldn't get it popping in college are now able to go to the NFL and be better and get it popping in the NFL. Tell me where you've seen it happen. Tell me where you've seen the guy who was not good in college go to the NFL and be good. Not the guy who didn't get an opportunity, but the guy who got the opportunity, was not good, and then went on to college into the NFL and was good. Yet every year we see quarterbacks get the opportunity to go to the combine and they were not good. Why is Eric Phoenix not on this list? The quarterback for South Carolina State, who transferred up from Benedict College, went 1 year at Murray State, then transferred over to South Carolina State with his head coach who came from Benedict College. They won the MEAC, then went out and lost in the Celebration Bowl. He was injured. He had a phenomenal season. Phenomenal season. Why is he not here? Why do we not get a chance to see him on this stage put his skill set up against everyone else's skill set? Don't tell me he wasn't good enough when the opportunity was never given to him. That's a cop-out. And that's the problem with what I see with the NFL Combine now. It's all about the show. And I appreciate the show because I watch it, I love it. But if it's all about the show, when does it ever become a legitimate showcase? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemons. To do this thing every once in a while, rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.